break away from the conventional procedure that pundits say now is a way to tame NASA's parallel tallying of results. Or is it? In studio, I have, Professor George Wajakoya and political analyst Joseph Simeha. Thank you for joining us this morning, and I'm making sure that I pronounce the names right.
Yes, I'm very particular about that.
All right, that's good. Now, let me start with you, Professor. And first of all, your thoughts on IEBC's announcement now that they will not have the periodic announcements, but wait for all the results to be in, then give us one announcement, which will probably be the final one.
Rigging.
Rigging? Is that what you read into it?
Yes. Because, first of all, we have the Constitution, and I keep on referring to the preamble of the Constitution, which has the phraseology of we, the people. We, the people, is above the Constitution, because that is within the people's sovereignty to grant certain authorities and powers to legislative authorities, executive authorities, and also the judicial authorities. So when there is a usurpation of power by a government, by a body which has been given that mandate by the people, usurpation, speaking outside the box of the Constitution, then that is tantamount to rigging, and that in itself is illegal. Because one thing is, there are no laid down mechanisms to tell the IEBC what to do, because the ones that gives him the autonomy and the authority are within the Constitution. Secondly, if an IEBC official like Mr. Chebukati comes up with this rhetoric, and I've said this time and again, a man is obsessed with tautology of rhetoric, emotions. Mm-hmm. Where does he get the guidelines? Where does he get the permission? Which order does he use to come out and make some pronunciations at this particular time when there have been a lot of court litigation against him?
His argument being that now that the vote, the announcements will be made at the constituency level, removes the power from him to announce that periodically. So if it has already been announced there, is there any point of announcing it now at the National Tallying Center?
Where did he get that authority from? From the court? Let him show me the court order which mandates him or gives him the authority to do so, other than him choosing it. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, somebody should go to court this morning to look into that illegality. That is tantamount to rigging the elections.
All right. Joseph Simeha, your thoughts?
Perhaps what I would agree with Prof on is just the rhetoric part of it, because I see what the Commission said as redundancy, precisely based on what the comment you've just made yourself. Mm-hmm. That when a presiding officer announces results, that is the IEBC announcing results. And presiding officers will announce final results, not provisional results, final results. And that is making the results public. And then there will be tallies at the constituency level, again announced by returning officers as final results. Again, when a constituency returning officer announces results, that is the IEBC announcing results. So indeed, there will be periodic announcement of results. That's why
from the constituency level, from
the polling station level,
right,
and the constituency level, and that is the IEBC talking. It doesn't mean that only when the chairman talks that IEBC is talking, because the law mandates the presiding officer at the polling station level to announce the results on behalf of IEBC. That is IEBC talking, and that same law mandates the returning officer to announce results at constituency tallying center level. Again, that is IEBC talking. So in fact, these results will be public much earlier than the chairman announcing the final tally at the national level. The people have already known who the President of the Republic of Kenya is.
So you don't read any malice or foul play that possibly the Commission would, or an opportunity for somebody to manipulate the results?
No, for me, I will give them benefit of doubt. Because once these results are announced at polling station, leave alone even constituency level, the moment they are proclaimed at polling station level, there are interested parties that, I expect, like media, will run their tallies. Already NASA said they will run their tally. And so on the moment they are announced, there will be these interested parties with mandate, with constitutional and legal mandate to tally, who will be tallying. And I mean, I've had, CA and other people warn against announcement of, again, redundant and ridiculous that you can warn me, who has an interest in an election, from making an official result public when it has already been made public by the commission itself.
All right, Prof. When they announce it at the constituency or polling station level, it is still IEBC speaking.
It's still IEBC, and I totally agree with Mr. Simeha. One thing I have to backtrack and put a footnote first before I continue with what you have asked me is, if you look at the modern living, or you look at the world modernly, especially the world of electorate, if you look in the United States and Britain, and I keep on referring because that's where I get my president from, you find out that the issue of universal suffrage through voting is mandatory. It's not persuasive, and there's no language of may in the legislation. It is a must.
It's a must.
If you look at the 14th Amendment, and you look at the First Amendment, and you look at the rights to vote, they are not privileges. They are mandatory because that's when you constitute the state. So announcing the elections and relaying the elections for people to know, for the people to know, or the electorate to know, or the Kenyans, for Kenyans to know, is something that nobody can play about with. This man is just one person in the country, and he's already caused a lot of mayhem. Going to court, he's the one actually who started this war. Going to court to want things to go his way. Who gave him that mandate?
Who?
Chairman.
The chairman, Mr. Chebukati.
Chebukati.
Which planet is he operating from? And where has he come from just to come in? I mean, who is he working for? We know that he's working for the people of Kenya because it's through the sovereign that he got appointed.
But at what point would there be a loophole, given that these announcements are going to be made at that, basic level? And we have observers, we have NASA who have their tallying center, we'll have media also, correlating these results. At what point do you foresee that there would be a loophole?
First of all, even as far as we are concerned, only 2, 4, 5 days ago there was an electric issue, power failure at the IEBC offices in Nairobi. And that to me was so bad in a way that they don't even have an alternative backup generator. That's number one. Number two, once the man says the final results are as follows, ABCD, 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 that's it. It will be very difficult now for people to come up and want that changed because there's no consistency. But if you put stuff as you relay information, you relay the results on television as they come in, people will be able to say, well, Kakamega, 40,000 for Raila, 50,000 for Uhuru, this, and people are interested. People will be tallying themselves.
But isn't that what's going to happen when they announce them at the constituency level? We have those results official from IEBC because they've been announced by the returning officer. So by the time they get to Chebukati, he's merely putting it together and giving us now the final tally.
If Kenyans are number 3 leading world leaders in corruption, if Kenya is number 3 in corruption in the whole world, how do you expect an illiterate or somebody from Samburu, somebody, let me say, from Marsabit or Mandera, or in a very low level place where the infrastructure is not there, especially electricity, to relay. Of course, they will tally and then relay. If you relay 100,000 votes and Chebukati decides to cut off and put 250 on top, how will that relaying be conjugated at that particular time when he has already announced?
Actually, my reading of the law, Chebukati, the chairman of the IEBC, no longer has any role in announcing results, actually. He really, he'll be already just his role is to proclaim who the winner is and hand over the certificate. The official results will have been announced by presiding officers at polling station level and by returning officers in terms of constituency tallies at constituency level. So he need not even bother himself with this thing of announcing. He only needs to wait to be told what the tally is and then proclaim who the winner is in accordance with the announcements already made and hand over the certificate. But let me say this to qualify why, in my opinion, you hear a lot of this skepticism, including from myself and from many other commentators. ECK, IIEC, under Isaac Hassan, IEBC under Isaac Hassan, and even once this IEBC have a very bad record. And it's very difficult for people to trust this institution. Let's speak the truth. It's there in the public. It's not Simeha inventing it. It has become very difficult for people to trust this particular
But is it
institution.
possible it's us who have created so much doubt and attacked the IEBC to a point where now there's no more trust?
No. There was a basis. It began with the, God rest his soul in peace, with the Kivuitu. It began with Kivuitu's ECK. And then one thought that IEC and Isaac would be better. No, it wasn't any better. IEBC and Isaac. So things got worse. Chebukati lands with a bang, and as he says, you wonder, where did this man come from? Which law is he operating on? What is he basing his decisions and arguments on? So it is this institution, and it's them who have a duty. We have a right as citizens to expect certain standards from IEBC. They don't fund us, we fund them. They don't pay us, we pay them. They have a duty to us. We don't have a duty to them. We have a right to expect certain standards from them. But unfortunately, many times they've fallen below acceptable standards, and that has bred trust, has planted and mistrust, not trust, sorry, has planted and bred a lot of mistrust. So even sometimes, you can understand when someone jumps up, because they've been touched by something where they were bitten by a snake, touched by grass where they were bitten by a snake. This is what is happening to this IEBC, and you'd have thought that they would be extremely careful, even in their utterances, what Prof calls their rhetoric. Sometimes, actually, the chairman speaks, and I wonder, did you have to say that? Did you have to answer that?
Okay. Prof, what would an ideal situation be then?
Let him retract. It's not too late. Let him come up and say, I'll do as the wish of the Kenyans, as per the Constitution. I will announce results. I'll relay the results on the screen in a transparent manner and let Kenyans decide what they are seeing. Chebukati has no moral authority, and I will speak in a very loud mouth and language, and I don't know which words I can use. This man is a thorn in the flesh. He is the one who started all this mayhem we have seen in the court. First of all, he had an agenda. He went to court and did what he did, and that triggered the whole mass actions, legal actions in court. He should come out and put his pants down and say, look, I'm a Kenyan, and this is what I'm going to do. I neither support Jubilee, neither NASA. I am myself. I'm a very neutral person, even in my previous debates. And as much as I love this country, I can see this country going into the drain by little pronouncements of this man, Chebukati. Let him come out of the box, stand on the box, and sit down and say, look, here I'm a Kenyan, I've been bestowed these rights, I've been bestowed this authority. And let me use this authority according to the wishes of the people of this republic. Let me go through the preamble. Let him go and read again, because I'm told as a lawyer, and I'm a professor of law. I could maybe try to help him to understand some basic tenets of the Constitution of this country.
All right.
Violation of fundamental issues are taken very seriously by the Supreme Court or by the court houses in this country. There is zealousness and the word jealousness. The courts guard what is written in the Constitution, and particularly Chapter 4, with the zealousness it perhaps. But if there is some kind of fundamental breach by a mere low-level government official running a body like this one, then we should come up and condemn this person, because this actually amounts to preparing people for chaos in this country.
Okay. Simeha, do you agree that maybe the problem is with the chair?
Yeah, there seemed to be a problem with the chair. The moment he landed there, I've said it a short while ago, that he seemed to jump onto anything and everything, including having exchanges with politicians. Politicians can have exchanges with each other. But this man has his mandate actually very narrowly defined by the Constitution and the law. That is what, not as an individual, but as a chairman of this institution. That is what he ought to have stuck to. But sadly, a lot of the announcements he has made, some of his action, the court actions that he has triggered, unfortunately point to a man who is up to mischief. And when that happens, he should. We can, in my opinion, we should understand when this raises mistrust and suspicion that you must be up to some mischief. We just don't. Where communication stops, I love to say this: imagination takes over. So when we cannot understand what you're up to, then people begin to imagine that what could he be doing? And if you're in a position where you think that he's doing something in your favor and we are in competition, then I begin to think that he's doing something for you, and vice versa.
Okay.
So the chairman ought to have been a lot more careful, even with his pronouncements. Not just actions, even just pronouncements. He ought to have been a lot more careful. His word is not like Prof's or yours or any other ordinary citizens. He's the chairman of the Electoral Commission of Kenya.
All right. Prof, is it too late for IEBC to redeem themselves? I mean, they've been facing a barrage of issues, one after the other, in and out of court, to a point where now we're only 11 days to the election. Whatever they do, is the Kenyan perception of the IEBC irreparable?
Well, as far as we are concerned, and let me be soft on this man a little bit. After the court decisions recently, he came out as a person who was actually willing to follow the wind, was actually willing to do as he ought to have done in the first place. And if he's a Christian, not a pagan in that case, he has a family, including a wife and children, and he wants to leave legacy in this country to be remembered, and he wants to write history so that people can read that history. Let him come out of rhetoric, because that office itself is the most difficult office in this country. And I can tell you that when that office fell vacant recently, very few people applied for that job, because they know that there is a lot of fireworks in that office. But if he can come out and look himself in the mirror and say, look, my name is Chebukati, I'm a lawyer, and I owe a duty to this country. What do I have to do? He can come out and just say, look, Kenyans have decided, let me do as you wish. Even if he rigs under that umbrella, people will have some confidence in him, so they can redeem themselves.
All right, Joseph, the perception is reality, and more so in politics. Where we are right now, there's a certain perception from political parties, and more so even from the voter, regarding IEBC. Is that repairable, do you think?
I think it is repairable. It's not too late, as Prof says. I would agree with that.
With only 11 days?
Yes, it just begins with what you say. And a lot of the time, by the way, they have been judged by what they have said. Even before they do anything, they've been judged by what they've said in public, both Chebukati and Chiloba. And sometimes you wonder, oh, did you have to say that? Oh, my goodness. Do you know how sensitive this thing is? It's like throwing a lit matchstick at a tinderbox. So they can, with the pronouncements they make, they need to make reassurances to the public again and again. When they make a statement, then they realize that it's been interpreted in a manner that causes controversy. They need to very quickly, even within hours, come back and explain what they meant. If they got it wrong, they need to come back, retract, and apologize very quickly. This is a job where you just have to keep reassuring the stakeholders. You know, oftentimes they have behaved like it belongs to them. The rest of us, shut up. You have nothing to say. It's not like that. It's not a private business. It's perhaps at election time, the most sensitive public institution. I think much more sensitive even than security agencies at this time of a general election. So you have to be, in my opinion, so sensitive that the moment you realize that you've said or done something that causes controversy, you need to keep coming back to explain yourself, open yourself to scrutiny, public scrutiny, listen to the complaints that people are raising, do not be defensive. So even if it's just one day to election, whatever they say can cause problems. So it's not, in my opinion, even 10, 11 days to election, it's not too late for them to... It's not, and keep engaging stakeholders at every point, every decision they make. It will be perceived, you've just put it very correctly, perception, especially in politics. If there is just lack of communication, the other one side begins to imagine what could they be doing. And once that is planted, you know, it mistrust, and they begin to attack IEBC. So it's not too late.
All right.
Yeah.
Your closing comments, Prof?
One thing that I'm very wary of is the 7 hours announcement of these results. That 7-hour window is very small. And let me not condemn Chebukati on that. I would have thought maybe a day would have been okay, but 7 hours is tantamount to causing a lot of trouble. But
why? Well, it's too fast?
It's too fast, too little. You know, Kenya is a diverse nation, and we don't have problems.
I thought that would be more efficient and is, you know, making it
doesn't even happen
easy.
in the US. It's going to happen for the first time in Africa and in Kenya, but it's okay. But above all, I would like to say the following. IBC, you are our brothers. We don't need to condemn you holistically. Please just do what we need, and history will remember you.
We'll remember you. Simeha, your closing comments?
I think the same thing that, IEBC officials just ought to do the right thing. They're guided by the Constitution and by the law. And secondly, anytime they make, and they can make mistakes. They are human and they can and have made mistakes. I think the thing to do is to quickly own up when you make mistakes. And finally, at this moment, consult much more than before. Consult the stakeholders much more than you've ever done before. At every move, even if the law doesn't impose that duty on you, but just for the sake of ensuring that they are well understood and they don't leave any room for suspicion, consult all these stakeholders at every move, especially those that have put forth presidential candidates, including the independent ones, because that is where it is most sensitive. It seems to be most sensitive.
Most sensitive.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning on the Dawn Debate. That's the Dawn Debate, and we're going to take a short break right here on Morning Express, but do stay with us. We will have some stories that are making headlines coming up, and also the state of the nation.